What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Going for Two. I am Keywan Humphreys. And yesterday, we saw the culmination of a complete rebuild for the Oklahoma City Thunder. You know, when we saw Game 7 between the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, where the Thunder came away with a 32-point victory at the crib. Now, with that win, they advanced to their first Western Conference Finals appearance since 2016. Yes. The last time they made the conference finals was the infamous blown 3-1 lead to the Golden State Warriors. After that moment, after they blew a 3-1 lead, we've seen just a metamorphosis of this team to where it is today. Kevin Durant goes to the Warriors. Russell Westbrook goes on his one-man mission, wins MVP, breaks the triple-double record. Then they go out and sign Paul George and Carmelo Anthony and put together their own version of a big three. Then after that, we see MVP G13 and Russell Westbrook. They lose in the first round as well to Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. After that, we see the big trade goes down, sending Paul George to the LA Clippers in return for SGA and a plethora of draft picks. And ever since that trade, we've kind of watched this team kind of grow and form into who they are now. You know, we even saw a year where Chris Paul was on the squad. And they pushed the Rockets to 7 games in the bubble. Now, coming into yesterday's Game 7, it was a question of experience versus inexperience. Wisdom versus youth. The OKC Thunder have never been in a Game 7 with this core. They've never won a game where their backs were against the wall. They haven't won an elimination game with this core. They lost in Game 6 last year to the Dallas Mavericks at home. On the road. Was it on the road? Yeah, on the road. Lost to a Game 6 to the Dallas Mavericks on the road. They haven't really been in a position where they were in yesterday. The Denver Nuggets, a team that literally just played in the Game 7 last series against the Clippers. A team that has, I want to say it was 7, 8 Game 7s with Nikola Jokic. This is a team that's been bred, and they've been in this position for it and know what it takes to win. Coming into the game, I was going with OKC because I said, okay, they're at home. The guys going to play better at home. I'm with it. But the first couple minutes of the game made me like, okay, what's going on? The Denver Nuggets found themselves up 21-10. But right there is when the game switched because they brought in them dogs. They brought in them rabid dogs off the bench. I'm talking about Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, and Aaron Wiggins. Those guys have came in and they've won games in this series for the OKC Thunder. And I want to say they did it again. Namely, Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso came in at 6'5". Not a small guy, but not big in NBA scaling. They bring him in and say, hey, you got Nikola Jokic. And he says, all right, let's do it. And I'm watching him battle with Jokic. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's locking Jokic up because he definitely has some help on the back end. But when Jokic tries to get the ball, he has to fight. He has to fight to get the ball. And, you know, I'm a human being. I've played a little bit of basketball, but I haven't played in the post at all. I'm not a big guy by no means. But I can only imagine you fighting tooth and nail to get the ball. By the time you get it, you're already exhausted. And then you have to get past the person you're on just to run into 2 or 3 more guys. That is absolutely tough. And Nikola Jokic yesterday, I want to say he didn't even I don't think he had 10 field goals made, you know, but he had a bunch of free throws. So that just shows they said, okay, we're gonna muck this game up. We're gonna beat Jokic up. We're gonna put him on line rather than let him get a rhythm and just start cooking this one-on-one. The OKC Thunder saw a 25-point flip. I said they were down 21-10 midway through the first quarter. At halftime, they were up by 14 points. And what I saw happen, and what y'all might have saw happen as well, was David Altman, if that's his name, I think that's his name, David Altman, the Nuggets coach, just made poor decisions. You cannot play Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson together. You can't. That's why when Mike Malone was here, one of them was in the lineup, the other one was not in the lineup. Because when both of them are on the floor together, that shrinks the floor. And that's cool if you got Steph Curry, who's the ultimate floor spacer. But when you got Nikola Jokic, a guy that's trying to get to the paint, you cannot have guys guarding your corner guy with 2 feet in the paint. Aaron Wiggins was on Russell Westbrook, and he would have 2 feet in the paint waiting for Jokic to come to the paint because he's going to help. He's going to double. He's going to foul him. He's going to do different things because he knows, okay, if Russell Westbrook hits his corner 3, that's cool. Russ has to hit shots. I would have loved to see not Julian, isn't it Julian Strawther? I would love to see Julian Strawther right there in that corner spot instead of Russ because he will knock down a shot, even though he was bad yesterday. He will knock down a shot. But when you got 2 guys like Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson on the floor, that is a recipe for disaster. Not to mention, coming into the second quarter, there was no Jokic or Murray on the floor. Where's your offense going to come from? Where's your offense going to come from if you have both of your stars off the floor? Both of your creators, your only 2 creators on the team, off the floor. And that led to the lead dwindling and eventually exploding for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And by the time it was halftime, it was over with. It was wraps. It was wraps. Now, not too much to say about the game, man. You know, it was a blowout. Aside from that last 2 minutes of the second half and really the second quarter, 2 minutes of the second quarter, there was nothing much to talk about because once OKC got out front, it was wraps. There was no hope for a comeback. None. You know? So I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets and what they need to do moving forward. Denver has to go out and get depth. You're not getting much production out of your bench. Russell Westbrook's had some really good games this series and even in the last series against the Clippers, but that's not his play style is not sustainable with under a Jokic-led team. You know, you need as much. If Jokic is going to see 3 or 4 bodies if you don't have spacing on the floor. And this is where KCP was a God sent for them. Because he would stand in that corner and he would hit those shots. Not to mention on the defensive end, I would say he was an all-NBA defender, you know, an all-defense defender. That's how good of a defender he was last season. And they missed that. They really missed that, man. You know, Aaron Gordon, props to him. He became a really good shooter this season after really being bad last year. You know, so props to him. But they just need more. They have to go out and get something. Maybe Julian Strawther will become that KCP offensively. I don't know about defensively, but offensively, he'll become that KCP offensively where he can be that floor spacer as well. But they need to go out and get somebody, go out and get something. They have to do something. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. You know, looking forward to seeing what they're doing. Christian Brown is going to be good next season. I wonder what they're going to do with Russell Westbrook. I think he has a player option, so I don't know what they're going to do with Russell Westbrook or what he's going to do with the Nuggets. But I think getting to a Game 7 against the top team in the NBA was the furthest that they could get, you know. And I asked myself, how do they get to a Game 7 against this team? And I think about it, they just found ways to win. You know, they found ways to win. They found a way to win Game 1. They found a way to win Game 3, is it Game 3? I think it was Game 3. They found a way to win Game 3 when it went to overtime, you know. But at the same time, They didn't find ways to win in Game 4 and Game 5. Those are 2 games that they had won to me. They were up a decent bit, up a couple possessions going into the fourth quarter, and they ultimately just lost those games and dropped those games. And against a team of this talent level and of this depth, against the OKC Thunder, you have to find a way to win games that you're not supposed to win, and you got to find ways. You definitely got to win games that you are supposed to win. So, you know, man, that's just tough for them. Jokic going to be back. When you have the best player in the world, you have a puncher's chance against anyone. Now, moving on to the Western Conference Finals. This is going to be a really good matchup. I'm excited to watch it. It's going to be 2 premier young guards ushering in the next generation of NBA players to me. It's going to be great that the NBA is going to have a new champion, a new top guy. That's going to be really, really dope, really, really good between, you know, Brunson, Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, and Shai Gilgeous. We're going to have a new star win that first ring. So that's really good for the league as well. But looking at this series specifically, we look at OKC, how good this defense is, how good Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. I only have one question mark for them, and that is what the offense looks like outside of Shai Gilgeous. Now, Shai is responsible for 80 to 85% of this team's offense. He scores the most points. He has the ball in his hands the most. He's really the only true creator on the floor. He's not going to get 1,000 assists, but when he passes the ball, it does set up a bunch of, extra passes and drop-offs to other teammates. So he does not get the most assists. But outside of him, what do the Thunder have offensively? You say Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams played great in Game 7, but there have been several instances where we have a Jalen Williams milk carton performance. When I say that, it's missing. Where was he at? Game 7 he played great, but Game 6 he's just coming off his worst playoff game ever. 3 for 16 from the field, 6 points. And I think that happens just a little bit too often for my liking. Because I think the Denver Nuggets did a great job of defending Shai Gilgeous, and that is a reason why this series went 7 games. So I ask now, if the Timberwolves come out with a similar style, of defending Shai Gilgeous and making things tough for him, making him have to figure out how to be efficient and effective against his defense, can Jalen Williams step up to be that number 2 guy? And if you kept up with me on YouTube or on TikTok, going for 2 Queasy on TikTok, you know that I have my questions about Jalen Williams. I'm not fully sold on him being the secondary creator. I'm not fully sold on it. I don't think he's that good to be the secondary creator right now for this team. But under the same breath, the defense of OKC might be the best defense I've seen. They just have a bunch of guys that can switch everything. They have paint protection. They have everything they need that just get stops. We saw them, like I said, we saw them put a 6'5" guy on Jokic. It wouldn't work on Shaq, but for the sake of what the team was, what the team they're playing against was, it worked really, really well. Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is on a heater this year. Julius Randle's on a heater this year as well. And everyone else is trying to kind of just getting in where they fit in. Julius Randle has been an exceptional number 2 guy. And in the playoffs, over the course of his career, he's been a big question mark. We didn't know how good he was. We look back to 2021 against the Hawks, that series, and how bad he was. And we look to even 2023, I think. 2023, the first year with Brunson, how he was not that good either. But this year, he's really righted all those wrongs and played great through these first 2 series. And if he can keep playing great, I think there's a good chance that this team could win it all. The Minnesota Timberwolves. But I think the key to who wins this series is going to come down to which one of these lead guards can play well enough to get the job done. And when I say play well enough, I don't mean who's going to score the most points, who's going to get the most assists. I mean who's going to find a way to make their offense the most effective and efficient that it can be. Shai Gilgeous last series had to learn how to be effective and efficient against the Denver Nuggets defense. We saw Anthony Edwards have to learn how to be, we see him learn how to be more effective and efficient against the Warriors and the Lakers. Now, this is going to be a whole different ball game versus them 2 teams, because now you have Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein in the paint versus a Draymond Green or a Jackson Hayes or even, a no 5 lineup at all with the Los Angeles Lakers. So you're going to have these double big lineup that you struggled with last season against the Dallas Mavericks. But I think if anybody can do it, Ant can do it. Him being one of the best pull-up 3-point shooters in the NBA makes life easier for him and for his teammates, because he don't got to go all the way down there. But I'm going to go with the OKC Thunder. I'm going to give them credit where credit is due. They've won the game that I felt like I needed to see them win, the Game 7. They're battle tested. I don't think the Timberwolves have been tested yet. The Thunder have been tested in this series against the Nuggets. So I'm going to go with the Thunder to win this series and ultimately likely win the championship. I said a long time ago, earlier in the season, I said I had the Thunders going to the finals. And I'm not going to turn from that now, even though, the road got a little bit rocky. But let me know in the comment section who y'all got going to the finals on both sides. I got the Pacers video dropping later today. Let me know who y'all got, man. Until next time, going for 2. We out of here. Yeah.